This conference will now be recorded.
Well, I mean, you can start and do your minutes if you want, and then you can
Yes, sir.
just pause for,
Yeah.
give him a few minutes and see if he comes, and if not, you can either continue or you can.
That sounds good. So we will, see, November 17th, zoning board meeting. This mic around, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and proceed with the minutes, voting on the minutes of the last meeting on the agenda. So we've got Eric, that is Eric Usinger, which is, he is not here.
Virtually
He
here.
is in a digital form.
Virtually.
Virtually, yeah, just for record. But we're going to go ahead and vote on the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And anyone have any comments, changes, or suggestions to the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented for Tuesday, October 20th, 2020, as presented.
Okay, I second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and that's everyone, so no one can oppose. All right, so next order of business is the one application we have, 24 Silver Lake Road. They're requesting a special exception to 9.3 to allow construction. Well, it's actually going, it says 2 single-family homes, but it's actually going to be 1. So there's been some changes. So we'll have to hear what those changes are, but the applicant isn't here at this time.
Is it possible someone could scan that with a phone and send me the new updated map, just as a quick email?
It's on my computer. I'll
Yeah, go ahead.
email it to you.
Yeah. So right now at this time, Eric, the applicant isn't here. So
Yeah, I can.
we're going to wait.
Yeah. Well, that's why I figured it was a good time that, I just heard that the plans had changed.
Yeah, go ahead. There is some that I don't think you can see on the camera.
No.
So there are abutters and public here, so, but we will wait for a little bit, a reasonable amount of time. And go from there.
Ooh, should I add that there's no one in the room with me right now? That way.
Yeah, thank you. Good
Yeah,
point.
you are. Yeah. Well, I hope, Scott, you didn't walk down there.
Oh, I did tonight. I hope there's a spirit with you.
That's me. That's my phone. Sounds good. I wonder if it's the applicant.
You would think he was concerned he just didn't hear on time.
Is there a standard of time?
Hey, Leanne, it looks like you sent me the old one.
It's the same, Eric, almost
Oh, it is?
very similar.
Does it have just one house on it?
It has the garage, the deck. It's the same one that you had sent prior, with the driveway right on the boundary line.
Yeah, that's the new one.
If I
That's the new one?
quarter past, I think.
I'm looking at it.
That's a
Hold on.
reasonable
I
amount.
was thinking the same
Without
thing.
him notifying or calling.
Scott, Brian, Jim, if you don't mind, when you're speaking, if you could move closer to the mic so that it's picked up by the speakers, that would be great, because sometimes it
Thank you.
doesn't come through clearly to the audience, I'll call it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's all right.
No, good to know.
I just
Appreciate
made a statement. They were asking how long would be a reasonable. I would say maybe 15 minutes. And if he doesn't call us to let us know he's not coming, I think that's a reasonable amount of time to give
Yeah, I think
somebody.
most use 10, 15 is more than reasonable then. So Eric, Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is the new plan. There's a house drawn on it. And the house is now, if you notice, there's a note with an initial, it says, that no encroachment on the setback. That means they're not gonna do that house with initials.
Oh, so they don't really have a plan proposed other than they're gonna build in that little sliver 20 feet from each side?
Correct. He said he was gonna build now within the envelope because he would have had to start all over because this wasn't the plan that was noticed.
Okay.
So, mine, I'll just build in the building envelope.
Okay, so the variance is just for this road frontage?
Yeah, there's no variance. The variances were both withdrawn. And it's just a special exception to build on a non-conforming lot.
Correct, okay. Thank you. Well, I would hope he's bringing snacks because he's late.
You won't get to take advantage of that.
Yeah, how's it gonna help? you?
Well, I was just thinking of you guys.
Just because you have snacks there, probably. You
Yeah.
feel
I
guilty.
have snacks.
Well, we'll know if the camera goes off, Eric.
Oh, no, I'll eat him in front.
Are these all others?
Yes.
It's my understanding, one of the gentlemen to our right, I believe is a woman. I believe he's the one that brought the packet.
Yep.
They're all about it. We don't know about land or-
This gentleman called and he said he's at the light and he'll be here in a couple of minutes.
Okay. Eric, we've gotten word that the applicant is on his way, probably a few minutes.
Okay,
No, we just have a little more. I mean, I copied like that here, so there's maybe this for this everyone. And, you know, we may not have seen this one. I think I did copy this for you, though, but I wanted to see it. Oh, from this one. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Outside. Careful on the wires. So you make sure. find the lights. Hold on. He's writing it up.
Are you moving forward this year, Jim, with your building plans or your?
We have met with a contractor, person we know, working on the design, plan and design phase, plan inspection, to take our floor plans that we've just kind of, hey, what about this, what about that? And put it into something that is a little more constructible. And then the next step will be go to the bank and see what funding and so forth. And then if that still looks good, then contractor search.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So you're gonna have the plans all drawn up and then go from there.
Yeah.
So they'll probably might change between the time.
Yeah. We went through this, Aubrey's parents, my wife's parents, they're still down in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So we've been going through those changes, like, hey, what about this? Okay.
What do they need and so
Yeah.
on.
Kind of putting that together. And then now with the contractor, there's going to be some more of that. And then once we kind of nail down a reasonable plan,
Kathy's still working next door.
then we'll move
No.
forward with that.
Are you giving thought where it's gonna be their elderly?
No, she,
Or their elderly and possibility
Well, I
of
think
elevator or something?
close it down.
Really
Put it
about the
back up.
stairs if they don't
So we
become
haven't-
capable of.
So
So
stairwell.
she was working, kind of
Just
filling
hold on
in
one
country club
If when public speaks, if you-
with,
could you ask them to first identify themselves and their address?
and then
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
they hired some other people and they had
So
the training.
the plan is that that should be coming, the idea at this point would be
So she's
to
like, well, I
construct
think
the
I'm back to those
stairwell
hours, so she really wasn't working.
with the
So
appropriate
she decided to
framing
work there as
and
much as she could.
sidewall structure.
But the only thing there is it's kind of seasonal. They're attempting to open up.
So you're thinking that, because that's the only thing, I was thinking when you, of course, it didn't apply to us, but with your plans, where it's gonna
Yeah,
be
so
for your tent.
with everything going on, I don't know. if they-
That, you know, if you can't make the stairs, is there gonna be
Right.
a way to get them, you know, to accommodate?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yes.
Stairs become, you know,
Yeah.
a problem.
All right. So. Okay. So Eric, the applicants arrived.
Oh, very good.
All right. So we've already gone through the minutes and we're now at the case. So, so the zoning board case, case number. Case number
10, I think.
2010. Okay, so ZBA case 2010. That's right. Not on the agenda. So we're seeking for, let's see, it's the address of 24 Silver Lake Road, map R10 lot 33A, mixed use sewer, special exception, application 9.3 to allow for construction.
No longer two.
Yeah, no longer two, but a single family home on a non-conforming lot, which is 13,939 square feet and 70 feet of road frontage, where 20,000 square feet and 100 feet of road frontage is required. So that is the application. So would you like to go ahead and,
Up here.
yeah, if you come up here,
Let me put a-
get a microphone, does that go? And just introduce yourself and kind of explain the application, your plan, your idea. I mean, there's been a lot of changes, so you might want to clarify some of those changes as well.
Well, there was changes before, but I just went back to just using the building envelope.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, the changes I'm talking about is the application we saw versus what you're actually going to do. So there's been some changes along those lines. That's all. Just,
Do they have the updated?
Yep, they're talking about your first application for 2 variances, 2 houses in the setbacks.
Oh, yeah, so,
Because that's what was a notice, like I told you, that's what everyone
Right.
got. And then
Yeah.
they have the new plan and they understand the new plan, so you can kind of.
so a couple things. First one, my name is John Robleski. So originally, when I bought the place, it was mapped out in such that there were certain angles to the property as far as lot lines that I was told I was sold. I got with my attorney and basically, because it was a non-conforming but a buildable lot with the letter that I had, is why I wound up buying this place. And on initial review with the mixed use and everything, that, you know, I had planned on doing something that was going to be more for myself and was going to, you know, build to live there. And I hired a surveyor, and once the survey came back with the real lot lines, it was nowhere near, the front is still the same. But if you can imagine a lot that looked like this, now looking like this. So I changed a design, but when I came in to change the design to a smaller place, but still going to get a variance, it was going to be another issue to where I couldn't get in until maybe next month or January. So I decided just to use the building envelope that's there and to put a small single family house in the setbacks, not needing a variance for anything. So that's why you probably are seeing more than one plan.
Okay.
So that basically, it's just the way it is now is just going to be a small house that's going to fit in my 30-foot with allowing, you know, you still having this 20-foot setback side to side.
Mhm.
It's going to be a small starter type house, which did I give you? Pretty much looks like this.
Okay.
It's just, you know, straight in, 3-bedroom, no frills. Something that's not going to require variances to do anything, so.
Okay. So again, it's just a special exception because of size of lot and road frontage is below the required, and that's basically what we're talking about. Okay. So you get it? You get all that, Eric? Eric?
Yeah,
Okay. Just want to
it's
make
cutting
sure.
in and out.
Okay. I just want to hear
The
everything.
internet, I'm not sure what's going on.
Were you able to hear the applicant?
I was, except for the last maybe 30 seconds, it cut out.
Okay. All right. So you get the point that the special exception that he's applying for is basically because of the lot size and the road frontage is below what is required.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
Not that pertains to anything asking for anything special on the lot, no, sir.
Okay. All right.
I would want to add one thing.
Yes.
You might want to just address the water and sewer.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
You just want to just address the water and sewer.
Okay. So do you have a question? Or?
Yeah, is you going on public water?
So the lot has sewer on the lot.
Yeah.
There's actually a curb cut for the driveway to this lot. The nice lady in the sewer department gave me all the coordinates and everything of where it is. There's been some issues with the water. So I've gone through a lot of channels. Up until this last channel, who is a guy that works for Laconia Water, but part-time he runs the Lockmere Water District. Okay, maybe that's what it is. He has a general map. And the last conversation, email, matter of fact, that I got from him was that there is water at the street. He doesn't know, because it's my neighbors, the Lions here, the guy that owned my lot and their property, the water was stubbed up to their house. He was told that there was a T stubbed up at, I guess yours is 20, right? But in fact, I've been told that no, it wasn't. And the guy said, because it's a lot, it was on there, there is water accessible for your lot. He was going to find out the location. The last I talked to him, he was going to meet me over there to show me the location. That hasn't happened yet. So there's 3 different issues for water. There is a special form or something the well company told me that they do. It's a certain type of well that does not require well rating, especially when we have sewer and no septics. There's also water at the street if it's to my lot, or doing a cut permit with DOT District 3 to get the water. So 3 different avenues for water. I just haven't figured out which one. I guess worst case scenario, if I'm at the cost of a well versus cost of cut road, I've done them before. Sometimes they've been $500, sometimes they've been $5,000. So it's.
I don't know in that area, is that area was the part that was contaminated with the from the gas station up the corner, that's how
Yeah.
Lochner water got established?
Yes, I was a plaintiff to him.
Yeah, so that, you might not even have the option of going for a well there with the, because of the contamination that was in the groundwater there with the wells.
I have some paperwork, and I'm not a professional on it. I guess there is this well mediation that they do that environmentally, I don't know the technical term of it, but the well company says that he does them all the time. He goes to board meetings and all that stuff. It's an option. I would rather, the lot was advertised through Zillow, realtor.com, water and sewer to the lot. That's the way I bought it. My attorney did a little bit of whatever. He said, don't worry, the guy from Laconia Water, who was a temporary guy, I guess for Lochner, said there is water running down your street. My neighbor across the street from me, I don't know his name, but he told me that the water goes right in front of his house. So it's going to be a situation to where I'm building it over the winter and spring into the summer anyway. There's no time rush on it. So it's going to be, if it comes down to I need a cut permit and whatever the fees are, I have to pay it. So I would like to get it free if it's available to me, because it's a lot of record. If it comes down to a cut permit, I've done it before.
So if I could just add to that, I did talk to Lochner Water today, and they did confirm to me that water is on the other side of the street, that there is no stub on your side. So the only way you can get water is to go under the road, which is a state road, and there's a little distance up the road. So they said it's definitely doable, but it is going to be for you to pay the cost to run that line across the road and then down to your property.
Yes, it's a tap.
Yeah, so that's number one on the water. And number two, this is a small lot, and I mean, the board can do what they want, but I would caution that, you might want to consider conditions of approval based on where the water comes from, because we could get ourselves, you don't want, not that this gentleman's going to build without water, but if you start to build and couldn't get the water, ran out of money, you got a half-built house on a, non-conforming lot, and but just a little caution on the, so it is kind of a unique lot.
Well, I've been told by 2 gentlemen now. One of the phone numbers I got from you, from the,
I didn't give any phone numbers, so.
Yeah, when I first came in, it was a gentleman that you gave, I'm sorry, maybe it was the sewer lady.
Johanna.
Yeah, the sewer lady did. An older gentleman that was water commissioner or something.
That's why I spoke to Paul Boudreau.
So I mean, they told me the same thing, that, you're gonna have to deal with DOT. I've gone through all the channels. I've talked to guys with DOT District 3.
Right. Well, it isn't just dealing with DOT as well. I just want to make sure. I mean, plus there's going to be significant costs. So I want you to know that you still got to run it. They did say there was no problem with water. You can get water. I mean, they'll provide you water, but you're going to have to pay to run those lines and you get DOT and when you can cut through the road. Just
And a cop for detail.
right. Just understand that.
Yeah, and my thought process is going into December, January, I wasn't going to, asphalt places are closed. It's not typical to get a cut permit to do a road.
DOT won't let you do anything after the 15th of November.
Right. So, like I said, I built 22 houses in New Hampshire, and I've been through this a few times, so. I understand the legality of it, but I also, like I said, the well, the thing with the well is an option, and of course, I would have to produce all that paperwork if I went that route.
Eric, do you have any questions?
Not at this point, no. I would say maybe having built so many houses, you did willingly and probably knowingly buy a non-conforming lot. But yeah, that's it so far. I'm not believing the idea of this was sprung on him.
Okay. All right, so at this point, I'd like to open it up to public comment. So if you are here and you would like to make comment, please state your name and your address, your location, and who would like to come forward?
If you'll step back, if you
Yeah.
like, just so that it's only for the mic, John.
Yeah, just for the mic.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Michael Pearson. I'm with Pearson and Ball in Laconia. I represent Brad and Vicki Ewens, who are the abutters at 34 Silver Lake Road.
Okay, and just for clarification, that is
As you're looking at the lot, it's the large lot to the right.
to the right. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
So, requires that there be certain conditions that are met by the applicant when they're applying for their ordinance, for their special exception. I've outlined those in a memo that I provided to each of you. And two of those are that the specific site is appropriate for the use, and that there's no valid objections from the abutters based upon demonstrable fact. That is section 11.4 of the ordinance. So relating to those specific parts of the ordinance, this lot itself was never intended to be a separate buildable lot. This lot was originally part of my client's lot 34, until 1958, actually. What had happened in 1956 was that the owners of that property, and all of the deeds showing all of this are attached to my memo. The prior owners of that property conveyed lot 33 to these people called the Moultons. 2 years later, they conveyed lot 33A to the Moultons, to ostensibly for the purpose of enlarging the size of that lot. From 1958 until the lot was sold separately from those two lots, 33 and 33A, those two lots were both commonly owned throughout that entire period of time. These subdivisions of these two lots out of lot 34 both occurred well prior to the passage of the zoning ordinance. And had that subdivision been brought today, I would venture that the planning board would have required that those two lots be merged, because it is non-conforming and because of where it is and the size of it. So I think that first off, that it was never intended to be a separate buildable lot, and the town has never, other than the 2006 letter, which has no force of law, has never considered whether that is a separate buildable lot or not. So that's the first point. The second point with regard to the conditions for approval is that the construction of any building in that space is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. If you look at the overhead, which I think that you're looking at there, Mr. Chairman, you can see that basically what we have along that stretch of road are a number of houses that are well spaced out, and they are all broken up by green space and trees. And that is what the character of that neighborhood is. The lot in question is the green space and trees between lot 34 and lot 33. So if we're going to build a house or any other structure in that, essentially what's going to happen is that those trees and that green space is going to come down, and you're going to have multiple buildings that are going to be clustered together in that small space, and is not going to be in keeping with what the rest of that neighborhood looks like. So again, it's our feeling that it isn't in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Third, the Ewens have operated a daycare on lot 34 for over 30 years. And it's their position that that building a residential home right next to their daycare is asking for neighbor problems. When you have a daycare, you've got children, you've got noise, you have people coming early in the morning to drop their children off, you have people coming after dark to pick their children up. So there's going to be light issues, there's going to be noise issues, and whomever buys that house from the applicant is going to be essentially stuck next to what would otherwise be a nuisance if it hadn't been there for 30 years already. If the Ewens were looking to build a daycare next to a residential property, those concerns, I'm sure, would be raised by this board. And it's our position that the contrary consideration should be taken here, that we have a long-standing use, and by putting a residence in close proximity and taking out both the sound barriers and the light barriers between the two, are going to be problematic for whomever buys this. So if you allow a special exception for residential, we're going to be asking for neighbor problems between these two lots. So given those factors, it is our position that the applicant has not met the conditions for granting of a special exception, and that the Ewens have raised a valid objection to the granting of that special exception. Now, beyond and beyond those conditions, there's a lot of questions here. We've got first a plan that was presented. It doesn't show what this house is going to look like. It doesn't show where it's going to be. It doesn't show where the driveway is going to be, whether there's going to be enough room to turn around, or whether someone's going to need to back onto a busy stretch of Silver Lake Road in order to get their vehicles out of this place. We don't know where it's going to be located on the lot. It's based upon what the building envelope is. You've got 30 feet wide, and you've got basically 140 feet going back, I believe, because it's 70 by 200, I believe.
70 by 200.
Yeah. So it could be anywhere along that stretch within there. We don't know how large it's going to be. We don't. He's said that it's going to be 3 bedrooms. We don't know what that is. He had originally wanted to put 2 single-family homes in that small space. So under Section 11.6 of the ordinance, the applicant was supposed to provide 2 copies of plans for the proposed development. And those plans shall show the location of all buildings, parking areas, traffic access, and circulation drives, open spaces, landscaping, lighting, and other pertinent information that may be necessary to determine whether the use meets the requirements and spirit and intent of the ordinance. Based upon what I've seen, clearly there is not one plan that meets the requirements of section 11.6 of the it's our position that the board needs to be able to see that. And the reason why is after the purchase of this property by B&B, this gentleman behind, he came in and he had talked to my client, and she's here to testify if necessary. But basically what he said was that there are worse things that could go into that space than a residence. And that the property is zoned for mixed use, and that he could put something there that she would not like. So if you allow this special exception and don't know what's going to be put there and don't put adequate conditions on the approval of this property, he will be free to put up whatever he wants, and basically there will be no way that this board can go back on, because once that special exception is granted without conditions, it's done. He can put up whatever he wants. So for that reason, his non-compliance with section 11.6 is very, very important, and I believe that the board should require him, if you're going to consider granting a special exception, to provide a plan that meets the requirements of 11.6. If the board is going to entertain granting a special exception without this plan, then I would ask that the board consider putting certain conditions on the approval of the special exception. I think that the board should require that there be an extended setback from the road. The board is free to do that under section 11.8.1 as a condition of approval. We feel that putting that back by 50 feet from the road will space it out from the existing homes and will not result in the cluster that we'll be looking at with 3 homes that will be right on the property, or excuse me, right on the road and in close proximity to one another. With the daycare right next to where this residence is going to be placed, we would ask that the board require that there be a privacy fence put along the property line, and that existing trees be maintained within the setbacks, and we will have a sound and a light barrier between the 2 properties. I would ask that the board specifically limit the applicant's construction to 1 single-family house that otherwise conforms with the ordinance and for which no variance or other special exception is going to be required. And finally, I would ask that there be limitations on the driveway and the parking area so that it's not located within the 20 feet setbacks on either side of the property line. Now, I'm sure that the applicant is going to object to these conditions, and he's going to claim that these are going to result in a hardship to him. And I would respond to that in advance by saying that typically when a developer is buying a non-conforming lot, what will happen will be that the developer will enter into a purchase and sale agreement with the owner of that property. And one of the conditions of that purchase and sale is going to be the granting of a special exception before closing occurs. That's been my experience. I've done many, many of these in the past for clients. That's the way that it typically works. This applicant obviously knew, having the way tonight, he's constructed 22 homes here in New Hampshire. He either knew or should have known that he needed a special exception, and in fact, he ended up applying for the variances and the special exception within a month of buying this property. So, if there is any hardship here, I think that the board should really consider this to be self-inflicted wounds. He should have gotten this approval before he passed papers on the property. And the fact that they bought it without this special exception is unfortunate, but it is his own doing, and that's our position. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other? You're welcome to. Again, name and address.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kathy Lyons, I'm 20 Silver Lake Road. We're abutting right next to his lot,
Which would be the other side?
the other side.
okay.
We're going to be on the left-hand side.
Left.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I totally agree when John said that when he purchased this, that the real estate agent and the previous owner misled all of us, because we were extremely misled. when we purchased our home also. We were told multiple times that the fence that was up there was the boundaries for the property. We buy the property, we get there, and then we're told, oh no, that's a separate lot over there. We're selling that separately. If you want it, you have to purchase it separately. There was a whole bunch of misconstrued things during the purchase of this home, but we liked the home, so we didn't go into any sort of litigation over it after we purchased it. But even at the sale, at the closing, we were told the fence line was our property line. So the realtor and the previous owner misled all of us through all of this. You had brought up before about the driveway. Yes, the curb and the cutout in the curb is very close to the property line. We don't care about that. We don't care that, you know, they'll be coming in and out there. Yes, it's dangerous because it's close to the curb. Coming in and out of our driveway and we're farther down is dangerous because people won't drive the speed limit on that road. They're crazy. And as far as cutting down the trees and hearing the noise from the daycare, I hear the noise from the daycare. I work from home. I'm in the second story. I hear the kids all day long when they're outside. I hear the adults all day long from the outside. It hasn't affected me to the point that I can't work, and I'm working right there by that window. So yes, they're going to be a lot closer than I am. So yes, it may affect the people that are living in that house. I mean, that would be up to them as they're going to purchase it, if he's going to sell it or if he's going to rent it or what he's going to do. Whether it's going to affect them, it doesn't affect us. So I just wanted to make those points that we're a little bit farther away. So it's not any big deal to me. The only questions I have, and you brought up being 50 feet back, there are wetlands farther back in. It's very damp. It holds water quite a bit. I'd say it's probably like maybe 150 feet back.
130 feet back.
Yeah, so it's a little bit past where there actually was a fence up there. It's 130 feet back. Just past that, probably another 20 feet. It's very wet. It had water in. We moved in August, and it had water then, and we were in the middle of a drought, and there's water still laying back there. So to go back too far is going to enter into the wetlands, depending on the size of the house that's being built. I don't know what's being built there. But the only question we have is changing the water table so that we end up getting water in our basement. That's the only thing we're concerned about. John had come over and spoken to my husband a couple of times that he was going to do some landscaping there so that he was going to make a swell in between the two properties. So we would have a water runoff to go back into that wetlands so that we wouldn't have water building up in our basement. That was our major concern, and that's our major concern really right now that I can think of. Anything else you wanted?
Okay.
But, you know, as far as the driveway thing, that doesn't concern us. You know, John has said he is putting a fence up around the property. We've already got a permit to put a fence around the rest of our property. So we're not going to see them coming in and out. So, I mean,
The only thing that we're worried about is just if they, you know, if he raises stuff up and everything. We've already used it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to.
there is a sump pump in there, but we haven't had to use it yet. But we're worried about April, May timeframe, rainy season, spring. You know, like I said, we just moved in October or August, I'm sorry. So we haven't had enough to really amount to anything. So we don't know what that's going to be. That's our only major concern. John's talked to my husband, like I said, multiple times, said he was going to take that into consideration. So, you know,
Okay.
that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you.
Would you like to make a comment?
Sure.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
My name's Ray March. I live at 25 Silver Lake Road.
So where are you in location?
Yeah, where's that in relation?
Sir?
Right across the street.
Okay, Ross, across the street from the neighbors. Okay,
Correct.
all right.
I've lived in Tilton at that residence for 43 years now. And people used to have, even last year, the people that were renting from your property had to keep pallets down in the cellar to keep the beds and the furniture
Sir.
because they got water.
Yeah, just you need to use the mic.
So they got water in there, so you got to be careful. It is wetlands. Like I said, I've lived there 43 years. I've walked all around all those properties and hiked and stuff, and if you don't have high boots on, you're gonna get your sneakers wet. So, that's about all I guess I have to say, but it's a tiny piece of property, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dave Coppage. I live on 16 Brook Road, which is lot 60, I think, 62. And I lived there for 40 years now. And before I forget, I would like to add daycare. The daycare has affected me, even though she's a good friend.
Yeah.
Okay? I had the police knocking on my door saying that I was running around in my backyard nude, and the daycare people were, could be, the kid, I could be affecting the kids, where it was. As I gave myself a haircut and I didn't have a shirt on.
Okay.
So you have to watch out for the, how you dress. The daycare with the kids definitely affect neighbors. I'm a registered professional, retired civil engineer. I was on the planning board in the town of Tilton in the late 80s. That's my background. What's mentioned here is wetlands, and I don't know what that significant means to you, but I would like to show the board how wet wetlands are.
Okay, where is this picture taken?
Where is it taken? Right over that property. And one
Also
quarter.
show it the applicant too. Yeah.
Yeah, right in the back.
It's wet.
Yeah, out back, right?
Yeah, that's it in there, 200 foot. And,
That's where it's from.
one quarter of that property is wet. So that reduces that size of that lot to 0.21 acres.
Now, do you know if that's classified as wetlands?
I don't care if it's classified or not.
Okay.
She fell in it and I saw how wet she got.
Okay.
And if it's not qualified, well, that was another point. In 1958, was it wetlands then? And that could be the reason why they let this be called a building lot. But it's a sure wetland now. Anywhere in that lot, because I know with her, if you dig down 1 foot, you're in wet. How do I know that? Because the pages that used to own their house, the backyard in the fall, and you just walk in their backyard and your feet get wet. And that's that way back. That's like halfway through. So the lot doesn't meet the 100-foot frontage. It's below an acreage, 0.23 acres. Can't build in a wetland. Hardship, this is a spec house. He has told Irwins that this is a spec house, and if he doesn't sell it, he will live in it. But it is definitely a spec house. And somebody mentioned, he should have found out this information before he purchased this land. That's usually what happened when I was on the planning board. They would see if this lot or piece of land would meet certain specifications before they purchase it. This is obviously not happening here. But like, that's the other point is, in 1958, this land might not have been wetland. The road ponds up, it used to pond up. We put curb in and this, that, and the other, and now it doesn't, it drains, but if the water could have ran out and it wasn't wetlands back years ago. So it's definitely wet now. If this piece of, the reason why I'm concerned is a house, this doesn't fit there, my opinion. I've been there for 40-something years, just like Mr. Mouse, yeah. And it just doesn't fit in that, it just doesn't fit in that location. And it used to be a half of it, or it used to be woods, and they cut all the trees down. It doesn't even look like the same area now. And if you do allow a building there, will there be a word? Won't allow future variance for like an additional garage later on. You could want to add on a garage, or somebody could want to add on a garage, or maybe go up, because this originally was a two-family house with a garage. And now all of a sudden it's changed to a single family. And that doesn't sound right to me. This doesn't sound right. And somebody said, move the house back 50 feet. If you move this house back 50 feet, you're gonna be in the swamp. And it is wet. And we were out there, she fell in. And she, foot got caught underneath the roots, and she couldn't get up, and I just had a shoulder operation, and I couldn't help her up, and she's waddling in the mud. This is not really a piece of land that, was meant to be building. And I've been looking at these numbers here. So you got lot 28, 29, 31, 60, 33, 34, 35, blah, blah, blah. Where's lot 30? Where's lot 30?
This one, I don't know, it's not on the map. I'm
Yeah,
looking
it's
at.
not on it. And it's obvious that 33A belongs to lot 33. They could have made a lot. Or lot 60 something, or lot 70 something. Why do we make it 33? It's meant to belong to lot 33. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Eric? Anything?
Oh, no, I'm just listening at this point, ready for us to go into the article.
Criteria. He hasn't read his criteria either. He hasn't answered all the questions. The applicant.
Right.
Okay.
No, thank you. Yeah, just including Eric, just keep making sure you're still involved.
Oh, no, I'm here. Oh, I'm listening.
Okay. So if you want to, so one thing we need to do is through, with the special exception, there's certain criteria that an application for special exception needs to be met and answered. Are you familiar with those questions?
I am, sir.
Okay.
And I was working, I appreciate Leanne's time putting this all together to get this meeting, coming in with my original plan, and I did all my due diligence, even as far as getting my certified plot plan, okay, with the engineer's stamp on it. Okay, I have a recorded deed buildable lot of record in New Hampshire. Okay, I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers. At first, in my mind, I thought I saw a lot that, you know what, this is going to be great. I'm going to do a 2-story house, garage below, living above, live comfortable here with my 2 dogs. I didn't mind a daycare next door. I mean, people buy houses next to graveyards. I'm really not trying to ruffle any feathers. I think, and I'm certainly not trying to cause anybody any grief here. First thing I did was take 2 very dangerous trees down at the road that cost me $8,000. One that this gentleman across the street had a conversation with him about, you know, past winters and wind and stuff. And the neighbor's tree here, they were afraid it was falling on their house. I asked permission from the lady here to remove 2 trees from her property, which at the time was on the other side of my fence, which I was told, and believe me, I wish my property was where I was told it was my property, because I have a fence right here. I met with this lady here and she said, no, if that fence is your property. I got her permission to cut 2 trees on the other side of the fence just because they were like this on my property. Well, come to find out, the fence runs here. My property's way over. I didn't want that scenario. I didn't want to have to cut any more trees. I don't think I need to cut any more trees. I've been told by the town that my setbacks are 20 foot this way, 20 foot this way, 20 foot off the road. If you look at my plot plan there, it has my neighbor's house on it. You see it in relation to Silver Lake?
Yes.
Front of it?
Yes.
Okay, very close to the road. My other neighbor here, her house is also very close to the road.
Yes.
They all are. My neighbor across the street, his house is very close to the road.
It was moved there in 1844.
Well, I'm just saying, I would love, believe me, I would love to have a long, beautiful driveway back to a wooded lot. That's not what I have here. It wasn't what I was intended. My original plan, before I knew that my lot went from here to here, I was going to use the curb cut because of talking to DOT and the whole driveway issue was going to come across my lot and down the right side. The law in New Hampshire, driveways are not considered, you can put your driveway up to your lot line. It's not considered setbacks as a building structure. It's going to be on the left-hand side. They actually gained a lot more yard. When you first looked at this property, it looked like somebody's backyard. I mean, mowable. It was like a field that's been mowed. It's definitely wet way out back. I'm not putting in a basement. I'm not putting in full foundation. This is going to be a slab construction. Their lot is higher than mine. It sits up here. Mine is lower. So it naturally goes here. By lifting my foundation, my slab, it's just typical in construction between neighbors to create a swell to where their water comes here, your water goes there, it goes out the back, wherever it goes. But certainly the house is not going to be elevated to where the water drains on their property. So again, not trying, that's why I went back at the last minute and said, you know what, I'm just going to build this small little, I thought I gave Bobby some, when I left here last time. Again, I just want you to, if you guys would like to look at this at all, I mean, that's basically nothing here, 2-story, nothing ginormous. It's 1,600 square feet. If anything, it's going to bring value to both my neighbors. I'm not putting up an atrocity. I'm not putting an industrial business in there with trailers and as far as my neighbor's backyard, he's got trucks, he's got trailers, he's got old cars beautiful old cars that are in his backyard. As far back as my property before the wetlands, it's all dry. When you get back, yeah, at 200 feet, it's wet. It goes from back to her place all the way across. I'm not building back there. I had a certain plan in my mind that I could definitely see if somebody was saying, yeah, the house is gonna be too big, you know. I was told I was allowed to put 2 homes on this property. At first, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I can do a separate garage with my office above. I wasn't trying to do any harm, but then because of this and because of that, I'm like, you know what? It's just easier if I just keep my 30-foot envelope, build my 26-foot wide house, use my curb, come right into my garage on the left, not their side. I'm not pushing the house way this way. It's just going to be a basic type small house that's going to fit the neighborhood. I mean, I certainly wouldn't build $1 million mansion when the performance don't want. And again, I certainly don't want any problems with my neighbors or the board. I'm not asking for anything other than just, okay, you set the guidelines. Here's my 20-foot setbacks. I got a 30-foot envelope. I'm going to be 20 feet back. It's going to be farther than 20 feet, but I use the discretion of the guidelines that I'm given. I was told I had to do a certified plot plan. It cost me $3,100 to do that. And I was never expecting how far over to the right that she told me it was her property. I never expected that. And I argued with her. And then I was here that told me that they paid a guy out of Henniker, Hickinson. So I had Barrett Land Surveyors, well known in New Hampshire, called in. They didn't get the findings together. He said, listen, we've been in business a long time. We're not going to put our stamp on something that's not true in your property. I understand that my neighbor to the right was very, yelling and screaming, guys back there working that work for this company. He said, look, we're putting our stamp on it. We own it. That's your problem. I didn't, trust me, I didn't want to be closer that way. We had a good thing we talked about here. I was going to put up a fence and here's my lot. No harm, no foul, but certainly from what I originally wanted to do to now, I'm not asking for anything out of normal. I'm not asking for any special circumstances. It's just, and I didn't tell my neighbor, if it doesn't sell, I'm going to move in because my lease is up in June. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm a builder. I build 60 decks a year for 11 different Lowe's stores. I work 6 days a week. My winters are slow. So I said, you know what? I've saved up some money. I'm going to, build first house I've built in 15 years. So I'm in Northfield now. I like the Tilton area. I wanted to stay in the Tilton area. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of the market. If the real estate is up and somebody wants to pay a certain price for something, then they buy it, whether it be next to a graveyard or a shopping center or a dump. But my lease is up in June anyway, so I'm either moving or buying or building. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm certainly not, I can understand the confusion too with what I originally turned in. So I just wanted to.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that to help us understand a little more how we got to this point.
Sure.
So let's go through the special exception criteria. Are you familiar with the special exception criteria?
Yeah, you have his, these are his hands.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Yep, he wrote these.
That's right.
Do you have a copy of this? No, I can give you one.
But didn't we have to do away with those because I wasn't.
Yes, this is the second one you did. This is attached to special exception. When you said special exception, this is not the variance.
Page 39.
It's the answers that the gentleman, the attorney answered as well, these same points.
You have to give me a minute because I got no glasses.
Okay.
Do you want me to read them to you?
Unless somebody's got any readers.
You want me to read them into the record for you?
If you will, that'd be great.
Eric, page 39 in your handbook, Eric.
Okay.
Also on the back, Scott, even if he has the application right on the back,
Yep,
is the questions that he has to meet, and then he attached is the answers.
So you want to go ahead and read the questions, Leanne?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, so 11.4.2, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use.
It warrants a new house on the lot more than an empty lot.
And 11.4.3, no factual evidence is found that property values in the district will be reduced due to compatible land use by such a use.
The values of neighbors will go up.
Okay, and 11.4.4, there's no valid objection from the abutters based on demonstratable fact.
It says, already talked to abutters, all were in favor.
11.4.5, no nuisance or hazard is involved.
You just wrote none.
Yeah. Okay. And 11.4.6, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use.
New construction, modern house to state and local code.
And 11.4.7, there's an adequate area, there is adequate area for safe and sanitary sewage disposal.
Town septic, town sewer.
11.4.8, operations in conjunction with such a use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, odor, or vibration than would be the operation of any permitted uses in the district which are not subject to special exception procedures.
Just put NA. You put NA.
All right. And 11.8.1.
Setbacks from.
Okay, yeah, front side and rear setbacks greater than the minimum requirements of this ordinance.
I said current setbacks are 20 feet side to side in front and rear.
And let's see, 11.8.2, screening of parking areas, other parking parts of the premises from adjoining premises or from the street, walls, fences, planting, or other devices.
And standard 20-foot driveway and curb cut from town there now, it's actually the state. But
Let's see, 11.8.3, modifications of the exterior features or appearance of the building or structure.
It just says 3-bedroom home. No, it says new construction, modern look.
11.8.4, limitations of size, number of occupants, method or time of operation for extended facilities.
3-bedroom home.
Let's see. Regulation of number, design and location of drives or other traffic features.
It says 1 driveway to single family home.
Number, location, and size of lighting and stuff.
No signs.
And 7.
Operations in connection with such a use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fume, odor, or vibrations than would be the operation of any permitted use in the district, which are not subject to special exception procedures. And the response is no commercial use, single family dwelling.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And may I just also add to the, Tilton, along with a lot of other towns, have certain like
criteria like in nowadays, when you go for subdivision approval and lot size and everything. There is I didn't have complete count, but there are, I can't even tell you how many 20, 30, 40 properties down through Silver Lake and around that don't meet the 1 acre. My neighbor here, they have 130 by 200, and it doesn't meet the criteria for a lot. Yet there is 2 dwellings on that property. And there's a lot even farther down the road that are even smaller. Different day, time, I get it, but I did my due diligence when I bought this lot. I had my attorney look at the paperwork. I showed him the signed by, I guess, a planning member prior that says that it's a non-conforming lot, but is a buildable lot of record in Tilton. That's the only reason I bought it. If it did not have that, I wouldn't have bought it. So it's close to where I am in Northfield now. And again, I'm not trying to a nightclub or anything like that. It's just, like I said, I think maybe people got the misconception of what I was doing there. And again, I'm not trying to harm anything. I have these prints of this house that they can look at if they'd like tonight. I mean, again, it's smaller than my neighbor's house, smaller than an average new house going up these days.
What square footage are you considering?
This one right here is right around 1,600 square feet.
Single story?
Yes. Yes, single story.
Single car or 2 car? The picture was a 2 car.
Well, it's going to be 1 garage door.
Okay.
It shows 2 small little doors, but
Right.
it's probably just going to be 1 for 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So is the garage under the house?
No, sir.
Okay.
You drive in the curb cut, and I'll show you the pictures if you need.
Okay. Anything else?
I can't be money.
Okay. Again, any other public comment? We've already. Okay. So what we'll do now at this point is we'll close public comment and we'll direct it to the board for any discussions and open up to the board at this point. And Eric, you're welcome. Yeah.
I guess my only problem with all of this is I'm not seeing any sort of solidified plan for this lot at all, is what he's building. I completely agree with the other gentleman. You know, you came to this board, you should have been prepared with a plan of exactly what you're going to do right now, what you're asking, and I'm not seeing it. And I don't feel comfortable right now with granting anything without a solidified plan of what exactly are you doing. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Can I answer
All right.
that?
I think that we closed the public.
Yeah, we've closed the public
Okay.
comment. And do you have any other?
I'd like to address this letter that's in here that was referenced from 2006.
Yeah.
I guess my concern I have with this is using this as a reference for proof. It troubles me because of the way that it's worded. It says that this lot is a non-conforming lot by today's zoning standards back in 2006, but is a lot of record. There's a lot of lots of records. Therefore, it's a buildable lot. Just because it's a lot of record that shows in the town of Tilton does not mean that they're all buildable lots. So this statement that was made on this letter is absurd, coming from the town.
Yeah, who is this?
She was a previous town, I don't know, Scott,
He was a part-time employee.
or she worked in the land use department,
Yeah.
whether she was a planner or planning assistant, I don't know.
She was an assistant. But the statement in itself, when you read this statement, it says This is to let you know that tax map R10 lot 33A is a non-conforming lot by today's zoning standards, but is a lot of record. There is a lot of records. You go through the map and you'll see a lot of small little lots, but they're not buildable lots just because they're a lot that shows in the town of Tilton in the tax map.
Do we
And
know,
that's what it's basically stating out of this letter. So you get nothing from this letter. I'm sorry.
do we know who this Meredith audit is, or what this subject, this letter was about?
No.
I did
No,
not. It was in the file and it's
Okay.
public record, and so we provided that, and I didn't, that's, I'll accept.
Okay.
But I mean, to read that, what's on this letter, and to use that as a means of saying it's a buildable lot, I can't follow it at all with that. Because you can find a lot of lots that are landlocked, that they don't even have road frontage. They're not buildable lots, just because they're a lot of record.
Well, and that's why it's here.
And that's the only criteria that this is saying, because it's a lot that's on the tax map, therefore is a buildable lot.
Is there any other record of this
Not
lot
that I
being
could-
buildable?
Not that I could find, and my only issue with that memo, again, I obviously didn't write it, is that usually if you're gonna make a statement like that, you usually should reference a plat that shows it. It didn't reference, there's nothing to back up that memo, but it stands on its own merit. You can read it as I could read it, as the attorney read it, as the buyer read it. So that's the problem with that kind of a, I mean, there's nothing behind it, right? It doesn't reference a plat that it was subdivided off, or it was listed as a buildable. So I don't know any more of it.
Of the words that are on this piece of paper?
Correct.
Okay.
I assume someone came looking to build on it. I mean, I don't know why else they would write that.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes sense.
And to follow that, Chair, if I can continue
Yeah, go ahead.
with my question.
Yep.
I agree with Eric. On 11.4.6, we have no plans in front of us on what's actually going to be constructed there. Showing us a facsimile of a house that sets as an L with the garage in front of it. I mean, it's not a plan to show what's actually going to be constructed there. I agree with Eric. There's no plans. And it's there, for proper operation, an appropriate, adequate, building on there. And I think it's the same.
It's on the back of the application.
Yeah, I've got it. I wrote down some notes while he was going through everything. The screening of parking areas and other parts of the premise, 11.8.2. There's really no plans on that either, where the parking's gonna be, or how the garage is gonna be, or how the driveway's gonna be, or how the traffic, is it gonna back out into the street, is it gonna have appropriate to turn around? There's no plans there also. And again, on 11.8.3, it's the same thing. There's no plans for us to look at any of that. So I think I agree with Eric. Without no plans, there's no way I could even move forward with entertaining what's being asked of. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. So I thought I had, going back to this document from April 25th, 2006, it says, it is a lot of record and therefore. So does a lot of record also by definition qualify as a
Not
buildable?
necessarily.
So that alone doesn't equal.
Right. Well, and also, I think the issue is that a lot of record based on what? It depends. Like if she'd given a plat and says a lot of record based on plat number, or as depicted on this plan, but there's nothing to know why it's a lot of record. So if it was a lot of record per plat, then yeah, I would say it's a buildable lot because of that.
That's how I interpret it. Again, I'm not an attorney, but
Right. Okay.
usually that's how it's done. That's why there's not enough information actually is the problem in that. To say 100%. is
Would this be?
I'm not saying it's not a lot of record or
Right.
therefore a buildable lot, but it doesn't give me any information there except.
Anything else to reference?
Right.
Yeah.
There was never anything attached to this land.
No. I was actually surprised that was in there.
Yeah, I am too, because it's,
Well, I'm just, I'm just looking at this, I understand what this gentleman's saying. There is another letter in there because I looked this up today when I went by the property, took some pictures. There's actually something else that was issued to Meredith Audette from the town in 2006. I can't really read it on my phone.
well, that's what this is too.
Is that it?
This is Meredith Audette.
Yeah, there's more to it though.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh, where'd you find that?
I found it right online when I just pulled up the property.
Oh, right.
You see that? Because the
Email, I can print it for everyone? If you want to send it
The
to me,
reason
I'll print it.
I'm questioning, wondering what's going on, because, this letter obviously arose because
From
somebody was
something.
looking for something.
For some reason, yeah.
I drove on the property today to take some pictures, and I drove into the actual area where the driveway would potentially be.
Cut out. and-
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was very clear, I could pull up the road right there, and it's a flat dwelling, because I personally have looked at this property in the past, the whole thing. And this property is advertised for sale, correct? Was it advertised?
me?
No, it was advertised for sale through a
Yes, sir.
realtor
Yes, sir.
as a buildable property.
Yes, sir.
So I guess I'm confused to whether it is or not.
Right.
Obviously, this was for a reason.
Right.
When they did that street over, they made it access to that property. Couldn't really tell before because the whole thing was with a beat up fence there before. Now you can kind of see, the property and where the driveway would be potentially. But you want to send this right to yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I'll print it and one can have it.
Because I can't really read it on my phone because I'm pretty blind too.
Your email?
I understand there's some variances to look at here, but I mean, the overall picture, I don't think anybody would buy this property just to park a car there. Being it's already cut out for a driveway, that, it's advertised with, if you pull that up, just pull up 24 Silver Lake Road, you'll see it for sale. You can pull it right up on Google and you can see multiple prices on there that have changed. I assume this gentleman bought this recently.
Yes, sir.
And it's basically listed as a buildable lot through the town. So, I guess that can be deceiving. Maybe there's if this wasn't buildable, I guess, this certainly was advertised wrong.
The state did the curb cut for the lot.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled into it today, so that's why I'm just kind of confused,
I don't have the document now, so I'm not. I just, it's kind of, sorry.
You can't do it?
Where's the document again?
You lost it.
I lost it.
Oh, my.
What was it on? It was on,
I just went on Google, punched in 24 Silver
okay,
Lake
let me see if
Road.
I can find it. Why don't you talk? I'll find it. I'll see if I can find it that way.
You can click, one of these.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Go ahead, you can speak and I'll go.
So I guess, what does that letter say? And what was somebody trying to apply for something before? And what's on record that they would curb cut that right there like that and tap it with water?
Well, it isn't tapped with water.
Yes.
But I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying what it is.
So you can see this one right here. If you go on there, 24 Silver Lake Road, click right on it.
Say 2000.
There's this letter, this one right here. This kind of vague one. Then there's some other description right next to it. That went with the MLS.
I mean,
Oh.
I'm not sure what that reads. I just can't read the damn thing.
Yeah, I can read. I can tell it. We'll see.
So that's speaking to the buildable lot statement. So it would have to be a buildable lot in order to build on it.
I'm sorry,
Possibly would have to
now
be-
I'm working on.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
How's it going?
It looks like, it is hard to read on here, huh?
Yeah, I
It
can't.
says,
I don't
this
forgot my
is to let you
glasses.
know that map R10 lot 33 is a non-conforming lot per zoning standard as a lot of record and therefore buildable lot. That's the first sentence of the other memo. And it says the size and type of the structure to be built on this lot would determine whether or not an approved approval from the zoning board of adjustment would be needed.
Which,
Silver Lake, sstately.com.
I think, Brian, that comes back to what I said with no plans, as Eric said. We still don't have any plans. I mean,
No, I understand that.
so. I think even what she's stating there about, going in front of the ZBA with plans,
Concrete plans.
concrete plans.
See, they're saying it would depend on getting a septic approval and approval to be able to obtain water.
Yep.
Conditions would be depending on the project, the dwelling.
So I assume that in 2006, there wasn't an option for town sewage, then, correct?
Right. You asked about the lot.
That's about the same time they put the Lochmere sewer in. It's right around that window,
How do I forward this?
awful close. I think it is, I think that was down there in 2006.
So it sounds like someone was wanting to do something on this lot and they ran into some questions.
Well,
Okay, I have it much clearer now on the
Okay.
iPad. Thank you to Thomas, so I can read it a little bit like I sound a little more intelligent. So again, the first sentence was the same as the previous email. It says the size and the structure, the size and type of the structure to be built on this lot would determine whether or not approval from the zoning board of adjustment would be needed. A factor that might stop a dwelling from being built would be to obtain septic approval for the lot. Sewer is planned for the area, and once the sewer project is completed, there will be no problem putting a dwelling on the lot other than approval from the building department into the setback should it be needed. It says you ask about lot mergers. So I don't know what they're merging. Lot mergers are not difficult to do. This to be the way the future owners of two properties would want to go. I have the standard form in the office to be filled out and signed by the applicant, the planning board, and then recorded. As simple as that. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. And again, it's Sandy Plesner, Assistant Land Administrator. So again,
Same
it's
one.
kind of a
So further
Same lady, same
explanation
time.
just a little more verbiage about.
right.
So, I mean, it gives you, I guess, it lends a little more thank you information, but you end up kind of a little bit in the same spot.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish it was more, I wish you had just referenced a couple of why she determines these, makes these assumptions, but
Right.
that's
Okay.
there, there.
But in the same sense, we're still back in the same position of you're asking for something specific. And, to build on a lot that is non-conforming and within, you're not going to be encroaching on any setbacks. And that's basically what you're asking for. There's a lot of variables, but in the same position as whoever was the subject of this letter is what it sounds like. Does that all sound to be accurate? So it sounds like at this point, a question or concern has more to do
Has
with,
that property sold since 2006, Leon?
I can tell you that pretty quickly. Let me just pull up. Since Mr. Longo owned it,
I think that was 20, 10.
It appears Mr. Longo bought it in 2006. So
So
it was.
that was the same time this letter was constructed.
Correct, that was Mr. Longo. Before that, it was a Logman and yeah. He bought it from Logman.
Do you know what month he bought it? Sorry about that.
July on July 6th,
Okay,
2006.
so he bought it after this letter then.
Yes, that's what it sounds
Okay.
like, in July. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was sales in 1985 and 93. I'm going to print it to you.
Yeah, no, he had the
He
attorney,
had it.
did it, so he said it was July. It's in his packet.
Okay. So at this point, just the comment about the documents, the plans, the proposal, it's still out there. Any other thoughts or comments? Eric?
He's calling on you, Eric.
Eric, you still there? We see you. Can you hear me?
He can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Eric? Hello?
Is this mic?
Can you hear us, Eric? No, can't hear?
No, can't hear.
Can't hear you? Okay, we use
Huh.
sign language? Yeah. Does he want to put the phone in?
Yeah,
Tell him to call him. 286-2290. I think that's his number.
Like, we could put it right a note and put it up.
Call it, or call whatever number Leanne has. He'll see it.
What's the phone number?
My number, I'm called 540, now everybody will know it, 4038.
Oh, where am I going?
It's right up above. He's looking at it.
Yes, if I had his number, I'd call his number. I might have his number.
I was wondering if I could say something. No?
hold up, please.
I think he's going back now.
He's leaving that.
Yeah, we gotta be back. It looks like his mic is on.
Yeah, it's just that he
He said
can't
he was
hear.
having internet issues.
Yeah. Any other comments about any of the other special exception criteria?
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to call.
No,
The camera.
You had to hold it up to the
Camera, not his
camera.
eyes.
See the camera at the top? At the top. You can see it on the screen.
okay, he's gone. Oh, my gosh.
Everybody's on there's gonna be calling now, Leanne.
Hello? Oh. Wait a minute,
His mouth is.
I can't even, now I can't, why can't I hear him? Oh, boy. I can hear you now, and I put you on the.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ah,
maybe the last 3 minutes, but I think see everyone, but all of a sudden, for some reason, the sound went. So all your mics and stuff aren't working.
Okay. So you made the comment about your concerns about
He can't hear
the,
you, right? Can you hear him through your phone?
I can hear through your phone.
okay. So you made the comment earlier about the plans and things. I just want to make sure, see if you had any other comments or any other thoughts. That's all. Just keeping you involved.
No, I'm being concerned that this isn't really solidified plan. And it says there must be one.
Okay. All right. So I know you have the same concern? Yeah. Scott?
Brian?
Brian.
Sorry, Brian. Sorry.
He's used to
It's the mask. You have same concern or any other concerns?
I don't have any other concerns.
Do you also have that same concern about the plans?
Well, I mean, you need something on paper that's gonna be like more of a detailed footage. Something completely mapped out, exact square footage. It's obviously gonna be built on a slab.
Mhm.
Exact sizes, I guess, everything as we usually deal with.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be something that, because of the non-conformity of this lot and some of the concerns of the abutters, having more understanding of exactly what the intent of you wanted to build and the layout and so forth, having more of a plan and more detail would be needed.
I totally agree. I'm a deer in headlights here because I thought because I withdrew needing variances, that this was just going to be a formal, in and out thing of like, okay, yeah, I certainly will be happy to map it out on the plot plan, bring blueprints. I have no problem with that at all.
I also think that the water ought to be resolved too, where the water hookup and what the cost, and so he's well aware of what because I do think down there, because of the problem they had with all the wells being contaminated back in the 80s, that should be addressed. That I don't believe there's anybody down in that area that's on their own water. I think they're all hooked up to the water system.
Can you hear her? You want me to tell you? Okay.
So I think that for him to be well aware of what that's going to cost, because I think it's unknown, number one, where he's hooking onto. It sounds like it's across the street, and it doesn't sound like there was a stub put in when they put the water main in down there, when they did the water system. And number two, what that's going to entail with the state for permits in order to put it across the state road, because it's not, keep in mind, it's not been that long that road was all redone down there. So I don't know what the state's requirements are on how soon you can cut into a road that's just been redone. I do know they have requirements that they won't let you cut a road if it's been within a certain amount of years, and they didn't pave that long ago. Again, they resurfaced that whole thing, so I think that's for your benefit.
Yeah, there is already one cut farther down.
But you should make sure that you can do that. I think that those are things, because like I said, there was a reason why that they put in the Lockmere water system, was because of all the contamination that gas station caused on the corner. So I think that ought to be addressed.
So I think at this point, we're at that. Before we proceed, needing that information, just want to hold off until we gather that and go that direction.
So that's what the board's gonna do. You should make a motion to that effect, saying that you are, one, continuing to a date certain, so that we don't have to renotice, the applicant doesn't have to pay for new abutter notices, and then specify what, that you want a plan and possibly utility confirmation, whatever it is you want then.
Do we have to determine a date at this point, or like the next meeting?
Yeah, well, at the next scheduled meeting, which is January.
Is it January? Okay. So the next scheduled meeting is in January?
Yeah, I can tell you what the date is if you need it.
We have it on that
Yeah,
form you just gave us.
We have a new schedule coming out while it is out, but it's not.
Okay.
It says 1/19/21.
Correct, 1/19/21.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we hold off at this point until the January 19th, 2021 meeting.
So you continue the public hearing is what you're
Continue,
saying. The
thank you.
public hearing to January
Continue.
19, 2021. Go ahead.
To
Yep.
1/19/21, to give you an opportunity to gather the plans and detail and water access.
Yeah,
Anything else?
well, I think there should be something from the Lockmere Water District that states exactly what is going to be required in order for him to be able to acquire the water. To make
Okay.
sure that we're hearing that it's appropriate, we're hearing hearsay. We don't have anything from them.
In writing, correct.
Yeah, so finding out that it actually is accessible, that is something that can be done and accessed across the road and so forth, and what it would entail to do that. So documents of that and plans and so forth.
So the plan should depict what is being built,
Right,
architectural plan.
so that's my motion. Any seconds on that?
I'll second
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
that. Aye.
Eric? Okay, and aye. All right, so that's all of us. No opposed, so to where we're at. And that's everything for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the agenda. Any other business?
I don't really have any business, no, not that I'm aware of.
So Leanne, should we keep some of these documents for where we continued it?
Yeah,
To
if
keep
you want
it
to hang
with
on to it, I mean, I'm fine to hang on to it for you if you don't want to take it. but,
Yeah,
mean,
I think you ought to, and then we can just,
you won't lose it.
you have our names on them anyway. Because they're going to be our next meeting, right?
Yeah, we'll resend everything for the next meeting
I
when
know,
he submits new
If
plans,
you
so.
just keep my
Okay.
file here and then
Yeah, sure.
put it back out.
Sure, we can do
Because I
that.
had little notes.
Well, we haven't adjourned yet,
Yeah,
so
we
if
haven't,
you don't mind, we're still in the meeting.
No other business?
I don't think we have any.
Make a motion that we adjourn. Any second?
I'll second that.
Second that?
It was Jim and Scott.
I motion and he second. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
not
Opposed?
debatable.
Erickson,
All right, all set, meeting adjourned.
I think
Back
it's
to-
non
back to
debatable.
snacks.
Eric, thank you for coming on virtually. Appreciate it. Don't give that number out, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, you-
You two have a good Thanksgiving.
I
Bye,
was
Eric.
curious, you know the property that if you're looking at the
Yeah, I'll
date there,
section.
right to that nice house right to the right of it?
Yeah.
Is that plugged into the new system water?